Hey, what is up everybody? This is Derek from Gaming Skins and welcome to my channel. So I'll be talking about stock investing, personal finance, money saving tips. So let's dive in. So in this episode, I'll be talking about this role model that we all have as investors. It is Warren Buffett. So who is Warren Buffett? Let's go into this topic of whale tail riding. Check my first video, and you'll find out a little bit more on what whale tail riding is all about. But let's dive into this new topic of Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett, as some people may know, is the chairman and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. He owns about 16% economic interest in the company and about 30% voting power. And this Berkshire Hathaway is a huge conglomerate. It owns multiple businesses, including BNSF Railway, Coca-Cola, Fruit of the Loom, Apple. Its investments span the entire world. Because of his economic interest in Berkshire Hathaway, he has now achieved the prestigious title of the special elite group of Centibillionaire. $100 billion of wealth is because of his stock ownership of Berkshire Hathaway. Because of this, a lot of investors go to him and seek his advice and want to know what is ticking with him and what he's most interested in. With that, he's one of the most respected investors in the world. Every year, pre-pandemic, of course, tens of thousands of people would come to Omaha, Nebraska and attend the annual shareholder meeting in Omaha, and he is very, very popular. Like, who in their right mind would go to a shareholder meeting, especially Nebraska and Omaha, especially in the number of people that would actually attend the annual shareholder meeting. He's also so popular that Coca-Cola even put his face on a can of cherry Coke in China, because, as you know, Chinese people, they love money. Don't worry, I'm Chinese, so I'm allowed to say that. If you type in Google and type Oracle of Omaha, you'll get Warren Buffett, because as a lot of people would wonder what he's prognosticating on the world economy, the future of investments, he is also a person that would have lots of books written about him. So if you typed Warren Buffett into like Amazon, you'll get hundreds of hits of books of anybody who wants to write about what he is and his strategy, and they think that they have the secret of the inner workings of his mind. And he's also the bar that a lot of people seek to become or want to emulate, and also what people try to compare themselves to. You have like the Forbes magazine, comparing Bill Ackman, a hedge fund manager of Pershing Square Capital, as a baby Buffett, or where the recent interview with Chamath Palihapitiya of Social Capital, where he himself told the news broadcasters that he wants to have to form his own sort of Berkshire sort of like a group of companies as well. So what makes Warren Buffett so darn special? Well, first of all, let's go back to in history, where as a kid he was an entrepreneur and he loved making money. He loved so much of making money that he did his own paper routes. He had a pinball machine. He would even had enough money to like rent out land to a farmer that would pay him a rental fee, just because he was able to work out some deal with them. He has been on that streak ever since he was young. So he does not like wasting money. Based on many interviews, a lot of one of his siblings even stated that, even recall that in her recollection, that he told her that by the time he is 30, he would like to be a millionaire. His daughter, Susie Buffett, will even tell him, hey, you need a new car. But Warren Buffett's like, I don't really need to, but okay, if you want me to get me a car, I want the one with the best deal. And he got the car which had hail damage, because it was a bit cheaper. And what also makes him so special is that he's a very disciplined investor. What do you mean by discipline? He follows what the teachings of, especially of Benjamin Graham, the father of value investing. Benjamin Graham, he repeats a lot about Benjamin Graham, and like quotes him quite often. And he even said where investing is most prudent when it's most businesslike. So in terms of how you would analyze an investment, how you would pick stocks, as long as he has that mindset of, as long as I'm choosing the stock or this business, he needs to analyze it like a business. So when it's most prudent, that's when he's able to know whether or not he's getting a good deal, whether or not he's overpaying. And what I can see from him is that he's a bit of a collector. He sort of has this like collector mentality. There's this frenzy going on, especially now with like Pokemon cards, sports trading cards. You can sort of delve into what a collector is all about. A collector knows the value of things, see where things have been priced at, know which one is going to take off possibly. There's special groups that you would talk to. The same thing goes with Warren Buffett, where he would be analyzing certain stocks or certain businesses, trying to figure out what their economic future would be. Talking to business owners, people that he trusts, trying to get that that scuttlebutt approach of Phil Fisher. That sort of if you don't know who Phil Fisher is, you can check out Amazon as well, and you can find the book that he read that Warren Buffett would expound that. This is one of the great books that he has ever read. Also another thing that makes him so special is that he's a humongous compounder of money. So if you look at his annual reports that he just recently released, in the past many years, since 1965, the per share market value of Berkshire Hathaway has compounded more than 1.6 million percent. That's an amazing growth in terms of money, and he tries to lay that out in terms of what he wants to do is that because of Berkshire does not pay a dividend, he wants to retain all the earnings of Berkshire Hathaway so that he can funnel it towards better investments. Other thing that he also does is almost like forced appreciation. You hear that a lot in real estate, but he also does it as well. One example is where he purchased Geico. He was a stock investor, but he wanted to buy it outright. He was so impressed with the business model. It had some few kinks in history, and it was almost in the brink of going under. But he came in, swooped it up, and we know Geico today is one of the biggest insurers in the USA. Another example is where he would buy huge positions in things that he feel is undervalued. And the only reason why we would know about it is because of the 13F SEC filing, and boom, the prices go up. So he almost gives this good housekeeping stamp of approval, and because of that, things move, and they move up to their intrinsic value because he has made a stake in it. Another thing that makes him so special is that he barely pays himself a wage. Being a huge company like Berkshire Hathaway, incomparable to other conglomerates like him or other businesses like him that have the same market cap, he pays himself an incredibly low wage, and he keeps it that way. He wants to keep it that way. It's almost like he pays himself about $100,000, but most of his wealth comes from his Berkshire Hathaway stock. And I think he realizes this. I think he did that on purpose so that he can reduce the amount of tax that he has to pay, and he's doing it quite smart, and it makes him happy. Whatever he does, it makes him happy. So where does Warren Buffett's superpowers come from? We all, watch the latest Marvel television, WandaVision, the Marvel movies, DC comic movies, all those things. But in terms of, a superhero for investing, Warren Buffett is a superhero. So where does his superpowers come from? Well, first of all, one of them that he is his interactions with Benjamin Graham. Benjamin Graham played a huge part of his role in terms of developing him as a top-notch investor. Benjamin Graham, as you know, He was a professor at Columbia University, and Warren Buffett was able to attend one of his classes. He also was able to convince Benjamin Graham that he wants to work for him, and there he learned a lot of skills, how to analyze companies. The unfortunate thing is that he made Warren Buffett seek liquidation value in all his investing. So cigar butt investing, something that where you have like a few puffs of of leftover of value of a business, but you know that you cannot really lose money, but it's just not a very nice thing to do. And the other part of his superpower is actually his interaction with Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger is the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, the person who was able to convince Warren Buffett that instead of cigar butt investing, why don't you try something about investing in great companies, but at fair prices, instead of fair companies at good prices. So because of that mind shift, because of where he's able to invest in companies that are good companies but at fair prices, the ability to compound the money is so much easier and so much better and less of a headache than actually going for these cigar butt sort of businesses. Although you may be getting that safety of a few puffs left and that's it, you have to search for another one. Whereas like a good company, it would almost internally compound the money itself, less work for him. One other superpower that he has is that he loves math. He is a number fiend. He has the ability to recall information. He has the ability to analyze annual reports, and that's all he sometimes researches on. He just reads the annual reports. He looks at whether or not it is material. He's not trying to get any special insider information of any sort. One thing that we also know about him is that he doesn't look at the complexity of investing. He looks at it in more of a business sort of mindset. So with regards to him, he had an interview with Charlie Rose, with Bill Gates, way back when, and they looked at his planner, and when they flipped through it, it was mostly empty. And that's what he does. He likes to say no to a lot of things because he cherishes his time and he enjoys what he does and feels most important, or feels most at ease and most comforted and having the most fun in terms of what he's doing right now. So his calendar is pretty empty, and he does not like wasting his time for things unless it's important to him. The next point I would like to add is that one of his superpowers is that he's lazy. He's not this person who is hands-on, multitasking person that wants to be involved with everything. Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett say that multiple times in interviews that it's almost like delegation to the point of abdication. So they would like to pretty much put the responsibilities on others where they're the ones who manage these things. He is more seeking over more that high level approach of trying to find the best investments, of trying to compound whatever he's able to do in terms of asset allocation. And it works for him because in terms of how you run a huge company like Berkshire Hathaway, is that it's almost impossible to be a control freak. So with regards to him, he needs to delegate as much as possible so that he can do what he loves best, which is trying to find that great business and start investing. And lastly, the superpower is also where it's his geography. A place where he is able to get away from the hustle and bustle of like New York Stock Exchange, the crazy ideas and the venture capitalism of California. Those things, he is, because he's living in Nebraska, especially in Omaha, there's that slow paced, steady pace, sort of like a tortoise and hare sort of thing, but he's living the tortoise lifestyle, where it's slow and steady, wins the race, good wholesome values. The thing that Nebraska does represent, time does almost become played out in a way where you take your time doing things. You have that the values sort of thing. They, it's also so his geography affects who he is, and especially the people around him, of how their values affect him as well. So Nebraska is one of the reasons why he's so successful, and it's part of his superpower. So when does Warren Buffett's superpowers shine? Like, when does he actually have action and we're able to see what he's doing? Well, first of all, is when the market is crashing, the financial markets. He has done that quite easily, and he's shown his incredible firepower by maintaining a balance sheet and deploying it when it's most dire. Baron Rothschild would say, invest when there's blood in the streets, especially if it's your own blood. So when Warren Buffett, when he sees that it's bargain country and everything's a bargain, he takes his pick and he's able to wait for something that would suit him, that would suit his investment understanding and his knowledge about returns on that investment. Another thing that he would do in terms of deploying his superpower is that there's companies that would want to seek a white knight. He had an acquaintance, a good friend named Tom Murphy, who was running ABC, the television channel, and it was called Capital Cities as well, where they needed somebody because there was a time of hostile takeovers and corporate raiders, and they needed somebody. So he was able to swoop in because he had the money and became that white knight as this big 800-pound gorilla that was able to stabilize the stock. No raider would want to touch, or a hedge fund manager would want to touch the company that he would be sitting on in terms of having that substantial interest in the business. Another way that he shines his superpowers is that he sits on his hands and doesn't do anything. Absolutely nothing. So we've experienced that when the COVID pandemic hit. So the reports that came in, he did absolutely nothing. He would not pull the trigger. He had huge amounts of cash. He did, do some occasional small trades, but in terms of trying to deploy and get that elephant using his elephant gun, he did nothing. And that's the one great thing about, his discipline, is that if he's not able to find anything that is worthwhile or things that he does not understand, is not worth it to him. It's not worth it just because he's bored or anything. He does it because he feels like himself. He is a steward of this company. It's a steward of also the investments of multiple pension funds, families that he knows, close friends. He feels the burden of responsibility to make sure that their investments are safe. So there's this person named Whitney Tilson, who's also a great investor, who quote that, when you invest in Berkshire Hathaway, you're not investing to get rich quick. You're investing to stay rich. So why would you invest with Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway? This gets back to my first video about whale tail riding. You yourself, may not have enough time to look at a business all the time and making sure it's great or anything, and whom do you trust in terms of the manager? Warren Buffett is a person of incredible integrity. This person does not pay himself anything of a wage. He pays about $100,000, and that's about it. Most of his wealth comes from his Berkshire Hathaway stock. It's almost like he's doing it for free because he loves doing what he does so much. The other thing is that he is a humongous compounder, and that has the track record stretches back to 1965. As I said earlier, the stock price of Berkshire Hathaway has been compounding at 1.6 million%, give or take. And that is incredible returns if you're able to hold on. So the ability to find that manager like Warren Buffett is incredibly hard, but given that he's able to show himself through interviews and articles have been written about him, you're able to get this grasp that he's not really in it to be self-serving in any way, although he does like money, but in terms of his giving himself a wage, no stock options whatsoever. None of his executives have stock options, and the ability for him to retain the earnings of Berkshire Hathaway and compound it to such a massive degree is incredible, because it shows that he has talent, he has the skill of an investor, and you have the comfort of knowing that it's run by somebody who's super intelligent at making money and saving the company that would be around for a long time. So the balance sheet that he has created in Berkshire Hathaway is like a financial fortress. It's hard for anything to destroy. So given that he's 90, he'll be leaving something that is incredibly resilient to be able to shift and move in any way that would be helpful for his successor. So that's it, guys. So spam that like button, drop a like, leave a comment, and I'll catch you all later in the next video. Peace out, everybody.